The stars glittered like shards of broken glass against the black expanse of space, their cold light cascading over the jagged hull of the Starbreaker. Humanity's flagship loomed in orbit above a desolate alien moon, its sleek design marred by battle scars that told tales of skirmishes won and battles survived. Commander Alara Voss stood on the observation deck, her eyes fixed on the planet below. The surface shimmered with a faint, greenish hue, its atmosphere swirling with toxic storms that made the terrain below uninhabitable. Yet, it wasn't the moon's hostility that captured her attention, it was the silence. "Commander, they're still not responding," Lieutenant Kieran Lorne's voice broke through the quiet, crisp and precise. He stood at attention by the holographic console, his face lined with worry. The alien emissaries, representatives of the so-called Concordant Alliance, had gone dark. No communication, no explanation, just silence. And after weeks of diplomatic overtures and tense negotiations, that silence spoke volumes. "Keep trying," Alara said, her voice carrying the weight of command, but also a threat of irritation. She turned, her sharp features illuminated by the pale glow of the console. Her patience, like that of all humanity, was wearing thin. The Concordant Alliance, the most advanced coalition of alien species in the galaxy, had been testing humanity for decades, treating them like unruly newcomers to a game they had no right to play. And now, after the latest insult, a sudden blockade on Earth's trade routes, tensions had reached a breaking point. "You think they're scared, Commander?" Kieran ventured, his boyish curiosity momentarily overcoming protocol. "I mean, they have to know we won't back down, right?" Alara allowed a small, humorless smile. "If they were scared, they'd be talking. Right now, they're calculating, Lieutenant. And that makes them dangerous." Before Kieran could respond, the deck shuddered. The vibrations rippled through the ship, faint but unmistakable. Alara's hand went instinctively to her sidearm, even as alarms began to blare. "Status report," she barked, already striding toward the command bridge. The crew snapped into motion, their training kicking in like clockwork. On the main display, a red warning icon pulsed over the holographic projection of the moon's orbit. "Incoming fleet," Kieran said, his voice tight. "They just dropped out of hyperspace, 7 ships, Concordant signatures." Alara felt a surge of adrenaline. So this was it. No warning, no negotiations. Just a show of force. Her hand tightened into a fist. Humanity had come far in the last century, clawing its way out of a resource-strapped cradle to stake its claim among the stars. But even with the advancements they'd made, the Concordant Alliance had always seemed just out of reach, a shadowy conglomerate of species whose technology dwarfed Earth's fledgling fleet. The display zoomed in on the approaching vessels, their sleek, organic designs glowing with bioluminescent light. They were unlike anything humanity could build, their hulls seeming to ripple like liquid, as though alive. They weren't just ships, they were statements, reminders that humanity was still the underdog in a universe filled with giants. "Comms?" Alara demanded, but the communications officer shook her head. "Still no response, Commander. They're ignoring all hails." "Of course they are," Alara muttered, her mind racing. This wasn't a fleet sent to negotiate, it was a fleet sent to intimidate, maybe even annihilate. And yet, there was something off about it. Only 7 ships? Against the Starbreaker and its escort frigates? It felt almost dismissive. A calculated insult, as if to say, "We don't even need to try to crush you." "Commander, orders?" Kieran asked, his hand hovering over the weapons console. There was a nervous edge to his voice now, but his eyes burned with determination. Like everyone aboard the Starbreaker, he had family back on Earth. And Earth was running out of time. Alara hesitated, just for a heartbeat. She had spent her entire career walking the line between diplomacy and defiance, knowing that one wrong move could plunge humanity into a war it couldn't win. But this wasn't just about humanity anymore. The Concordant Alliance had made that clear when they blockaded Earth, choking off supplies to colonies and trade routes alike. This was about survival. "Power up shields," she said, her voice steady. "But hold fire. Let's see what they do. The crew moved quickly, the hum of the ship's reactor intensifying as the shields came online. Alara kept her eyes on the display, watching as the alien fleet moved into formation. The lead ship, larger and more ornate than the others, emitted a faint pulse of light, an ominous rhythm that seemed almost hypnotic. Then, without warning, the alien ships opened fire. The Starbreaker shook violently as beams of searing energy slammed into its shields. The force sent several crew members stumbling, but the ship held. On the display, the alien fleet's formation shifted, 3 of their ships breaking off to flank the Starbreaker's smaller escorts. Shields at 70%, the tactical officer called out. 2 escort frigates taking heavy fire. Alara's jaw tightened. They couldn't afford to lose those ships, not this early. Kieran, target the lead ship. Give them something to think about. Aye, Commander, Kieran said, his fingers flying across the console. Moments later, the Starbreaker's railguns roared to life, sending a barrage of tungsten slugs hurtling toward the alien flagship. The kinetic rounds struck the alien vessel's shields, creating ripples of energy that lit up the void like fireworks. The alien flagship didn't slow, but its formation wavered. For the first time, Alara thought she saw hesitation in their movements. Maybe humanity wasn't so easy to bully after all. But the respite was brief. The remaining alien ships redoubled their assault, their weapons carving through space with terrifying precision. On the display, one of the escort frigates shuddered under the barrage before exploding in a brilliant flash of light. Frigate down, the tactical officer reported, her voice strained. The Nova's edge is gone. Alara forced herself to stay focused. Every instinct screamed at her to fight back, to unleash everything the Starbreaker had. But she knew that wasn't the answer, not yet. The Concordant Alliance wanted a reaction. They wanted humanity to lash out recklessly, to prove that they were as volatile and primitive as the Alliance believed. But Alara had spent her career studying the enemy, learning their tactics, their weaknesses. And she knew one thing for certain, the Alliance wasn't as unified as they wanted everyone to believe. Lieutenant, she said, her voice cutting through the chaos. Send a burst transmission to Earth. Encrypt it under Black Protocol. Tell them to prepare the Aegis Protocol. Kieran's eyes widened. The Aegis Protocol was humanity's last resort, a contingency plan so drastic it had never been used. Commander, are you sure? Just do it, Alara snapped, her gaze hard as steel. And fire another volley at the lead ship. Let them know we're not done yet. Kieran hesitated only a moment before nodding. The Starbreaker's weapons fired again, and this time, the alien flagship faltered. One of the tungsten slugs broke through its shields, slamming into the ship's hull and sending debris spiraling into the void. The bridge erupted in cheers, but Alara didn't share their relief. This was just the beginning. The Concordant Alliance had underestimated humanity's resolve before, but they wouldn't make that mistake again. The next move would be critical, and Alara knew it had to be hers. As the alien fleet regrouped, their formation tightening like a noose around the Starbreaker, Alara turned to Kieran. Lieutenant, prepare the crew for close combat. If they want to test us, let's give them a lesson they won't forget. Kieran's face broke into a fierce grin. Aye, Commander. And as the Starbreaker surged forward to meet its enemies, Alara felt the familiar rush of adrenaline, tempered by the steely resolve that had carried her through every challenge before. This wasn't just a battle. It was a message. And she intended to deliver it personally.